Hi guys, so today we're going to learn how to crochet as a complete beginner, and we're going to go over how to make a slip knot, how to chain, how to single crochet, double crochet, and maybe even increase and decrease. Also, if you're trying this for the first time, please don't be disappointed if you don't understand everything right away, because at the end of the day, crochet is something that requires a lot of patience and time, and once everything kind of like starts making sense for you, it's going to be very easy and you're going to like have fun with the process. But before that, it's probably going to be very frustrating, and you're probably going to want to pull your hair out or even cry, and to be honest, that's okay as long as you're not giving up and you keep on trying. And this disclaimer is mainly for my sister, because she's the one I'm kind of making the video for in the first place. Last year I was crocheting a lot and she kind of like wanted me to teach her, but like she was 6 at the time and I genuinely I did not know how to teach her, and I did try, but I feel like I didn't put in a lot of effort, and yeah, she was like not able to grasp things very well. And I promised her that I'd teach her when she turned 7, and now she's finally 7, but like we're not in the same country, so I decided to make a video. Alright, so we're going to be needing some yarn and a crochet hook. And for the yarn, I would recommend you guys to get something that's 100% acrylic, because acrylic yarn is generally very easy to work with. So if you're starting off, it's like, you know, a very good point to begin with. And it's also a lot cheaper when compared to some other types of yarn. One thing I would recommend you guys not to do is to get yarn that's very dark in color, because the darker the color of your yarn, the harder it's going to be for you to see your stitches. And if you're not able to see your stitches, it's just going to be very hard for you to learn. And as for the crochet hooks, I personally like using these metallic ones. And if you guys are confused about what hook size to use, you can always have a look behind the label and you can find the recommended hook size mentioned. And for this one, it says 6'7". Oh my god, 6'7". Right, so the first thing we're going to learn how to make is a slip knot, and it doesn't really matter what you're making, you're going to have to make a slip knot to start off your project. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the yarn, and this is our thumb and this is the index finger. So we're just going to take it and we're going to put it over the thumb and the index finger. And basically the long strand of yarn we have, which is connected to the ball of yarn, is called the working yarn, and the shorter end we have over here is called the tail end, but we're not going to be using it, so we're mostly going to be working with the working yarn. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the tail end and we're kind of going to bring it like this so it makes like a cross. And once we do that, what we have to do is now we have the working yarn on this side, so we're going to use the thumb and the index finger, and we're just going to take the working yarn and pull it. So it's kind of going to be like this, you just pull it, and that's about it. So I'm just going to repeat this one more time. You put the yarn over your fingers and then you're making a cross, and then you use both of these to pull this yarn, so just like this. Alright, now that we're done making our slip knot, what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the hook and we're going to be putting it inside the hole. And basically to tighten it, what you're gonna do is you have 2 ends and you're just going to pull on both of the ends together, so just like that, and we're done. Before we start chaining, I'm going to show you how to hold the hook, and for this part everyone has a different way of doing it, so you guys can just try a couple of different ways and see whatever works best for you. So first we have the working yarn, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my index finger, and I'm kind of going to wrap it around like this. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm just doing this, and the working yarn is kind of wrapped around my index finger. And as for the tail end, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my thumb and my ring finger, and I'm just gonna hold it like this. So this part is important because if you're not holding on to the tail end, or like the work as you're getting done with it, you're not going to be able to like stabilize it. So you're going to wrap your index finger around the working yarn, and you're going to hold this here. So that's pretty much it. Okay, so now we're going to start chaining, and in order to do that, first you're going to make sure the working yarn is wrapped around your index finger, and that you are using your thumb and your ring finger to kind of hold down the tail end like that. So now what you're going to do is, the first step is to make sure that the hook, like this part, is facing towards you. So we want it to be like this. Like it's not supposed to be like this, like the hook is supposed to be pointing towards you. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna the hook is pointing towards you, and then you're gonna kind of bring it to the left. So this is your right, but we're gonna bring it here to the left. And once you do that, you're kind of gonna go under your working yarn and like this. So you still need to make sure that the hook is pointing towards you, and now you have your working yarn wrapped over your hook. And in order to chain, what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to pull this, and you're going to have to take the working yarn and pull it through this. So pull it through the loop. So we're just going to make sure it's facing towards you, and we're just going to pull it, and that's it. You have your chain. So I don't know if you guys can see, but like we have this V shape, and that's basically our first chain, and we're gonna continue repeating that. So once again, first make sure the hook is facing towards you, and you are gonna bring it to your left, and then you're gonna go under, and you're gonna pull the working yarn through the loop, and that's your second chain. So we have 1 and 2, and we're just going to continue doing that until we get 11 chains on the hook. So once again, make sure it's pointing towards you, bring it to the left like this, and then go under and like this, and you're gonna pull your working yarn through. So I switched colors because I think the white one wasn't very visible, and now we have 1 2 3 4 5 6, we have 6 chains on the hook, and we're going to continue until we get 11 chains. And once again, what we were doing was that we're going to take our index finger, you're going to wrap it around your working yarn, you're going to use your thumb and your index finger to hold on to your work, and then you're going to take your hook, bring it over to the left and go under, and you're going to pull your working yarn through the loop. And yeah, so we have 7 chains, and we're just going to so basically we have 11 chains, and every chain is a V. And if you turn around, this is the back of the chain, and instead of like plain V's, we have like little bumps on top, like 1 2 3 4, so we have like bumps here. But like for now, we're going to be working on the front side, so we have our V's. And now that we're done chaining 11, what you're gonna do is we're going to start working on our single crochet. And single crochet is basically a type of stitch, and it's one of the easiest stitches to do. So we're just going to be making a plain square for now. I feel like it's just good for practicing how to crochet. So now we're going to get started with our single crochets, and in order to do that we're just going to make sure that we have 11 chains. So we have like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and 11. And now what we're going to do is basically when we get started with our single crochets, so here we have our first chain. So basically this is going to be our turning chain, and we're completely going to ignore this and we're going to start working from our second chain. So what we're going to be doing is, so like as you can see there's like V's. We're not going to be working on the right side, we're going to be working on the loops that are on our left side, so the ones over here. So to start off with, you're going to take your hook and you're going to skip the first chain and you're going to enter into the second chain, which is right here. So you're taking your loop and you are entering into your second chain. So as you can see, this is our hook right now, and what you're gonna do is you are going to pull up a loop, and in order to do that you're going to once again take your working yarn and pull it through this loop. So you're not going to pull it through both of them, just like through this loop. So here we go, we're gonna pull it up, and now we have 2 loops on our hook. And in order to get done with our single crochet, we're going to once again pull the working yarn through both the loops, and that's it. We have our first single crochet, and now we're going to move on to our second one. So you need to make sure that you're not entering into the same stitch, and this is the one we just went into, so we're going to go into this one, and you're going to take your hook and you will enter, and now you're going to pull up a loop. So take your working yarn and pull it through this one, and now we have 2 loops on our hook, and we're going to take our working yarn and we're going to pull it through both the loops. And now we're going to enter our third chain, and once again you need to pull up a loop and then you need to go through both the loops. And then once again you are entering your fourth chain. You are going to pull up a loop and then you're going to pull through both the loops. So as you can see, we have our single crochets forming up, and we are going to keep on repeating this until we reach the last stitch. Alright, so now we're finally done with all of the stitches, and we're gonna count and see how many we have. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10, and we have 10 because we the earlier we did like 11 chains, but we kind of skipped over one to make it into a turning chain, so then we ended up with 10. And now what you're going to do is once again you are going to chain 1 so that you can use it as your turning stitch. So we're going to chain as we did earlier, where you're holding your work with your thumb and your ring finger, and you have your working yarn wrapped around your index finger, and you're just going to go under the working yarn and you're going to pull it through the loop. So once again now we have 11 chains. So basically, like, now you're going to work into these. Alright, so for the second row we're going to do things slightly different. So earlier you were only entering this loop, like the front one. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to pass our hook through both of these together. So we're skipping the first one once again, and you're going to take your hook, and basically first you entered this one, now you're going to enter both of them. So you're going to kind of try and you're going to enter both of these together just like this, and then the rest of it is like the same. You're just going to pull up a loop as we were doing earlier, and then you once again have 2 loops on your hook, and you're going to take your working yarn and you're going to pull it through both the loops. And then once again we're going to move on to our second chain, and as we did earlier, we're just going to pass our hook through both of these loops, and then we're going to take our working yarn and we're going to pull up a loop, and then once again we're going to pull our yarn through both the loops. So we're going to continue doing this until the end. You're taking your hook, you are entering into the V, both the loops, and you are taking your working yarn, you're pulling up a loop, and then you're pulling through both the loops. So as you guys can see, our second row is kind of like starting to form, and we're just going to continue doing this until we, and once again we are on our last chain. So we're going to enter and we're going to be pulling our working yarn through, and now we have 2 loops on our hook, so we're just going to take it and pull through both the loops. Now once again we should have 10 stitches, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and in order to start the next row we are going to chain 1, which is going to be our turning and from this point onwards it's basically the same thing over and over again, and you guys can do it for however long you want, depending on how much you want to practice. So if you want to make 10 rows, like, go ahead. If you want to make 5, that's fine. I am just going to make maybe 2 more, and then we're going to move on to our double crochets. Alright, so I'm going to stop right here, but you guys can go on for however many rows you want. Alright, now we're going to work on double crochets, and I just went ahead and I repeated the things we did earlier. So I have 11 chains, and now we're going to kind of work double crochets into this. So what we're going to do is, once again, the first stitch is the turning stitch, and we're going to be ignoring it and we're going to be working into the second stitch. So for single crochets, what we did was we kind of like directly went into the loop like this, but now for double crochets what we're gonna do is we are kind of going to take our working yarn and we're gonna wrap it around our hook. Now we're going to enter into the front loop, and just like that. So earlier when we were doing the single crochet, at this point we had like 2 loops, but now we have like 3. So we're only going to pull the working yarn through one of these, so we're basically just pulling up a loop, and once we're done doing that, what we're going to do is we're going to take the working yarn and we're going to pull it through the first 2 loops, and we're just going to leave this one as it is. So you take the working yarn and you're going to pull it through 1 and 2. So now once again you have 2 loops on the hook, so we're going to take the working yarn and we're gonna pull it through both of these 2 loops. So that's basically how you double crochet. First you pull up a loop, then you pull through 2 loops, and then once again you pull through the other 2 loops. Once again you're going to wrap your yarn around your hook, and then you are going to enter the loop. And once you do that, you are going to pull up a loop, and then you're going to pull through 2 loops, and then you're once again going to pull through the last 2 loops. So you're just going to keep on repeating this till the end of the row. So for the second row, you're going to be skipping the first one that you just chained, and we're going to wrap our yarn around the hook, and instead of entering only this loop, we're going to be entering both of these, how we did for the single crochet as well. And then we're just going to pull up a loop, and then we're going to pull through 2, and then we're going to pull through the other 2. So basically this is it, and you guys can do it for however long you want. Just make sure to chain 1 at the end of each row, and yeah, that's about it. And I'm just gonna show you how you're supposed to close off your work. So what you're gonna do is that just like cut off the yarn and make sure that you're leaving behind a bit so that you can kind of like chain. So I have like this piece of yarn, and what I'm going to do is, like, I just got done with my last stitch, and to fasten off I'm just going to chain 1, and once I'm done chaining 1, I'm just going to kind of pull on this, and we are done. And that's it for this video. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments.